This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
Somehow, one of the most useful and practical AI features of the year has slipped between the cracks with all the recent AI buzz. It's a small but huge release from Google that should be grabbing headlines, but it isn't. What is it? It's Gemini in Sheets. But it kind of makes sense that no one's really talking about it. I mean, look at the last few days alone in the AI world. ChatGPT Pulse and ChatGPT Shopping, Claude 4.5, Sora 2 Microsoft agents. Why would anyone be talking about an AI feature in a spreadsheet? Well, don't we all spend so much time in spreadsheets? And aren't we all trying to save time with AI? Wait, this makes perfect sense to tackle on today's Putting AI to Work on Wednesdays. I'm excited to talk about a new and very overlooked feature in Gemini AI in Google Sheets. I'm going to tell you what's new and 5 daily tasks you didn't know that you could do a little bit better and faster with Gemini AI. Let's get into it. What's going on, y'all? If you're new here, welcome to Everyday AI. This is your daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter helping everyday business leaders like you and me not just keep up with all these AI developments because they do slip between the cracks, but how we can make sense of them to grow our companies and our careers. If that's what you're trying to do, awesome. Starts here with the unedited, unscripted live stream podcast. But if you want to be the smartest person in AI in your department, our website, that's where it happens. YourEverydayAI.com. Go sign up for our free daily newsletter. As we do every day, we recap the highlights from our live stream podcast, as well as keeping you up to date with all the other AI news that matters. Speaking of stuff that matters, we put a poll out in our newsletter. So if you listen to the podcast, make sure you go sign up for our newsletter because we often just ask you, what should we cover? We do this new weekly segment on Wednesdays showing you all ways that we're using AI and ways that you should too. Very easy, very practical. So if this is one of those things where you want to bust out, your second computer or second screen and follow along as we do it, let's get after it. But you all said you wanted AI in Google Sheets more than anything else. So that's what we're diving into today. And also stick around at the end. I mentioned that Sora 2 thing. You can't get access to it unless you have an invite code. I got some invite codes. So I'm going to tell you how to get access to that at the end. But let's talk about Gemini in Sheets. It's really good. So today we're going to go through how Gemini in Sheets works and the manual tasks that it can help replace. I'm going to give example use cases for routine tasks that you'd normally do in spreadsheets, but now Google Gemini can do for you and do faster. And I'm going to highlight 5 of my favorite time-saving Gemini AI kind of tips and tricks that you can automate. All right. So what the heck is Gemini in Google Sheets? Let me be honest. The rollout of Gemini in Google Workspace has been rocky, to say the least. And I wrote it off for a long time, and rightfully so, because it was bad. Right? I did multiple, videos on my YouTube channel where some of the earlier iterations of Google rolling out Gemini in their workspace. So in Gmail, in Google Docs, in Google Sheets, it was bad. Didn't work. Couldn't write a formula. It couldn't change the content in there. It was almost like, what is Gemini doing in these different workspace? It's not like that anymore. It is really freaking good. And the newest feature is kind of this new AI function that you can just literally type, a simple formula. I'll show you how to do it. You don't have to be technical. You don't have to know coding. You don't even have to be a spreadsheet whiz. If you can type, 3 or 4 letters, you can start taking advantage of it right away. But Google, Gemini in Google Sheets. So this is how Google describes it. They say, do more with your spreadsheets in less time with help from AI. Gemini makes it easy to create tables, analyze your data, and more. Yeah, the and more is an understatement because I think there's so many capabilities in Gemini in Google Sheets that people just don't think about, but I think we should start thinking about it. So let's go over some of the basics here. And yes, we're going to be doing a couple things live. I'm going to be fumbling around a little bit inside Google Sheets. So some of the core functionality, well, Gemini can generate spreadsheet elements such as formulas, tables, charts, graphs, and provide analysis and insights. Who can get access to it? Well, you have to have a paid Google account. So that's one of the downsides. But if your organization, right? So if your business uses Gmail for your email provider, right? Essentially, people either use Microsoft Outlook or they are a Google workspace organization. So if you're a Google workspace organization, you probably have access to Google Gemini. So just check with your system admins. So here's what you can do. There's a couple different ways that you can interact with Google Gemini, and I'm going to show you each. But essentially, you can just prompt. So on the sidebar, you can pop out the Gemini sidebar, and you can just prompt in natural language. You can have it write formulas. You can have it visualize data, create tables, all that good stuff. But you can also type in certain cells as well. Contextual integration is big. So it can summarize spreadsheet content and reference emails plus Drive and Gmail files to inform responses. That's huge. I'm not really going to be demoing that because, blindly pulling in context from certain emails that align with certain spreadsheets, I don't know how it's going to work, right? Like as an example, I talked to a lot of our, partners and sponsors about certain stats on certain podcasts. So I don't want to accidentally pull in email content, but that's extremely helpful, right? And that's one of the big powers of AI in general is bringing over and carrying over context from different places where you work. So Gemini AI in Google Sheets has that as well. And well, why is no one talking about this? Well, talk about bad timing. So the AI function, and that's really what's new and what I think makes this really good. It just became generally available about 2 weeks ago. So in September 2025, it's obviously been a very crazy time for AI updates, and this didn't get a lot of play, didn't get a lot of love. So actually, if you watched our episode, it was episode 619 a couple of days ago. It was with Paige Bailey from Google. The episode was about Nano Banana, but she actually walked us through some cool AI Gemini tricks inside Google Sheets. But it's a brand new feature. So if you used Google Gemini in Sheets maybe a couple of months ago or a year ago, and you were kind of like me, you were unimpressed, and you're like, this thing doesn't work, try it now. It is extremely impressive, and I hope to show you at least a little bit of that. All right, so let's look live, shall we? All right, I'm trying something new here. Normally, if you follow along on the live stream, video side, I usually just have my little Canvas slides. I'm starting to do more of these in Gemini Canvas. It's just really good. It's really easy. So I don't know. Hopefully this works. But if you are listening on the podcast, keep in mind, this might be one of those shows. It's a little more visual. I'm going to try to do my best to describe what's going on, but you can always watch the video recap of this podcast, the exact same thing, except the video version on our website at youreverydayai.com. Just click episodes and it's there. Within 10 minutes after the episode is done debuting live, it's essentially on our website, the video. So go check it out. All right. So let's first go over a little bit. Let's see here. That's fine. We'll go ahead and do this. Yeah, we have our, hopefully my Chrome here isn't too distracting. So going over some of the benefits here. All right. Let's talk about some use cases first before we get into those 5 ways to save time with different tasks that I like. So first, just talking about some of the core use cases a little bit more. I mean, data organization, huge, right? Just being able to provide structure with natural language is extremely important. I love spreadsheets. Some people do, some people don't, right? But being able to create little widgets, little dashboards with natural language is such, I think, an untapped level up for everyday non-technical people, right? Being able to pull your spreadsheet into Google Sheets and saying something like create a project tracker with columns for task owner and due date, right? Gemini can just understand your natural language. So number 1, being able to organize your data. Number 2, obviously, getting better analysis and insights. So not having to look for 10, 15, 20 minutes, for a single data point or to find a relationship between two different data points, right? I've done this so many times in the past, right? Um, so as an example, saying something like, what are the top 3 selling products this month? Well, what if you work at a large, manufacturing company and you have thousands of products, right? Yeah, you might be able to, sort it, right? Go in and maybe apply some filters, but what if your data's not super clean? Or what if it's spread across many different SKUs, right? So yeah, you might be able to create some tables, some charts, some formulas, some filters, or, well, you can just use natural language and surface those key insights instantly. Formula generation. This is one all the time. Pre-AI, I would spend so much time like Googling things, trying to find the right formula, right? So both in Google Sheets and Excel, because sometimes if you like are one character off, or if you put a space after a comma or something like that, it just doesn't work. Or you're like, well, does a formula exist? This is one of those things I demoed early on when Google Gemini first came to Sheets and just didn't work. And I'm like, this thing stinks. Now it's really good. Right. So you can just say in natural language, write a formula to calculate the commission 15% for sales in column C. Right. So you don't have to know the exact formula. That's a very simple example, but that's what I wanted. And then you can apply it obviously to your entire data set. Formatting and actions, kind of the next big use case category. So that's how you can just make important data stand out visually without having to figure out like, oh, how do I do that in the menu? How do I apply, a formula first and then go in, put some conditional formatting in? You can just say something to Gemini and be like, highlight all the rows where the status is overdue in red, right? Or, putting things in red, yellow, green, according to where they fall at on a certain scale. Simple. Just talk to Gemini in natural language. Say, hey, I'm trying to visualize, what's good, okay, and bad. Good, here's an example. If I look at column C, a good would be a 20, an okay would be a 10, and a bad would be a 5. Go ahead and make these colors accordingly and do it all for you, right? Normally, it might take 2, 5, 10, 30 minutes. If you're not very good at Sheets, now you can do it in a single prompt. Very, very useful. All right, let's go and talk about some time-saving tasks. So this is where I'm going to be jumping around between my little Gemini canvas here, going over some of my notes, and then going into some actual spreadsheets here. And we're going to be running some of these examples live. So number one is just, discovering what's possible. This is something that I think most people overlook when it comes to AI. We always think, AI is only going to be able to produce something that I tell it to, right? Maybe there's a certain skill or a certain insight I know I need to pull. So I'm going to ask an AI to do that. Well, what about just discovering what's possible? I don't care, and I'm not just talking about this in the lens of Google Sheets. I'm just saying in general, large language models are smarter than us all. All right. If you still think you're smarter than a large language model like Gemini 2.5 or, any day now when Gemini 3 drops or GPT-5 thinking, you can always, throw 1 or 2 prompts in there intentionally and it'll get it wrong, but it's going to get 99.999% of things correct, way better, way faster, way more consistently than the smartest humans out there. So discovering what's possible is actually a big unlock that people aren't thinking about. You might look at this, a spreadsheet in Google Sheets and, okay, well, I just need to find the difference between column C and column D, and that's going to tell us our profit. What if there's things in there that you might be missing? All right. So discovering what's possible is huge. So, doing something like summarizing column B in 3 bullet points. Okay. Simple. Creating a pivot table, but I like to just say like, what is possible? So I'm going to go ahead. Now I'm going to open up, I'm going to open up this. Yeah, we're good here. So I have a spreadsheet, and this is reviews that people have given us for Everyday AI. So there's a couple hundred, maybe 600 or 700 reviews in here. No emails, all this stuff is public on our website anyways, but it's in a spreadsheet form now. So there's a date, the person's name, their title, who they work for, and then their actual review text. Okay. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and now click the Gemini icon in the upper right-hand corner. So if you're in Google Sheets, if you are on a paid plan, which many people are, look for that Gemini icon in the upper right-hand corner. It's going to be by your profile icon. And then I'm just going to, you can chat with Gemini like you would on any sidebar chat. Okay. So you don't have to be inside of a certain cell or highlight anything. So I'm just going to put a simple prompt. I'm saying, please give me 5 AI commands I could run on this spreadsheet to either save time or to build or create something of value. All right. And we are using Gemini 2.5, so it is a thinking model. And I always encourage people, go see exactly how the model is thinking about your question, but we'll save that for another day. So here we go. Here's 5 AI commands it's telling me. So maybe I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, there's not a ton of data. There's a rating, and that's just, well, everything's 5 stars. There's dates. So it's like, what am I going to do with this, right? I can't draw, really strong connections between 2 different data points. What am I going to do? Well, here's what I can do. I can summarize the review text column for common themes and sentiment. That would take a long time. I can categorize the review text into predefined topics. That would be awesome. I can identify key phrases and keywords in the review text that indicate customer satisfaction or dissatisfaction. I can predict the rating for new reviews based on the review text. That would be kind of cool. I don't know how useful it would be, but it'd be kind of cool to do it. And then the other one said, generate personalized response templates. Yeah, obviously, I would just email these people back and say, hey, thanks. But, if I wanted to save some time, I could say, hey, something about this part of your review, and use Gemini to pull out, something that I personally liked. All right. So there's use case. Number one is or time saving task. Number one is just discovering what's possible with AI in spreadsheets beyond just connecting the dots between 2 different columns. Number 2, generate instant dashboards. So a lot of people know, obviously, whether you're talking about Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel, that you can create line graphs, you can create pivot tables, you can create bar charts, right? But you can instantly just create different dashboards of value. So I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to say, generate a dashboard for this spreadsheet that highlights the most important findings. For this one, I'm going to go into a different spreadsheet. Okay, so I'm now in a spreadsheet that this is all of our podcast data. All right, so it is 620 episodes. There's an episode ID, a published date, a published status, and then you have downloads over the last 7 days, last 30 days, last 90 days, and all time. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to toying around with some things there, so I'm going to get rid of it. All right, so now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in the sidebar of Gemini again, and I'm going to put in a simple prompt. I'm just going to say, generate a dashboard for this spreadsheet that highlight some of the most important findings, right? I'm not saying, give me the, podcast with the most downloads, because again, a large language model that can think and reason and make connections, especially with structured data, it's probably going to find some things that maybe I didn't. Okay, so with the Gemini sidebar, I can toggle it. I can make it bigger or smaller. So I'm just going to toggle it, make it a little bit bigger here. And it instantly built me out a couple of really helpful bar charts. So nothing, fantastic here in terms of visuals that I maybe wouldn't have been able to build otherwise, but it saved me a ton of time. And I didn't even have to tell, give me the top 10 episodes by last 90 days. Versus all time. It just decided, oh, this is probably going to be helpful. So I can hover over, I can see the number of downloads over the last 90 days for some of the top 10 episodes. I can also insert this into the actual spreadsheet. I can preview it, or I can copy the chart. So if I click preview, it's going to just pop out a little preview box. Same thing, give me top 10 episodes by last 30 days, by last 7 days, by all-time downloads over time, total all-time downloads by published stats, and then it broke out some bullet points as well. So pretty good. All right, I'm actually going to try a follow-up prompt just for fun. I'm going to say, find me 5 more interesting trends that you can graph and make them visual. All right. I don't know how well that's going to work, but let's give it a try.
Are you still running in circles trying to figure out how to actually grow your business with AI? Maybe your company has been tinkering with large language models for a year or more, but can't really get traction to find ROI on Gen AI. Hey, this is Jordan Wilson, host of this very podcast. Companies like Adobe, Microsoft, and NVIDIA have partnered with us because they trust our expertise in educating the masses around generative AI to get ahead. And some of the most innovative companies in the country hire us to help with their AI strategy and to train hundreds of their employees on how to use Gen AI. So whether you're looking for ChatGPT training for thousands or just need help building your front-end AI strategy, you can partner with us too, just like some of the biggest companies in the world do. Go to youreverydayai.com/partner to get in contact with our team, or you can just click on the partner section of our website. We'll help you stop running in those AI circles and help get your team ahead and build a straight path to ROI on Gen AI.
I actually haven't really pushed the new AI mode in Google Sheets in terms of what it can actually produce visually. So I've seen, the basic charts, tables, graphs, things like that. So I'm actually seeing if I can, push it a little bit more. Okay, so on my second iteration here, let's see what it did. I'm trying to find my prompt. Now I'm lost. Okay. So just give me some more bar charts, things like that. So nothing mind-bogglingly good, but some pretty helpful stuff. Like, okay, September, we had our most downloads. I knew that already, but it's nice to be able to pull those together. I could first use AI mode to categorize all my episodes, and then I could create new visualizations with data that I didn't have before. That's the thing with large language models, creating essentially structured data from unstructured data, right? So obviously in the spreadsheet, I have a little bit of both. Something like download numbers, that's very structured, right? Episode titles, not structured, right? So I could go in and categorize them by different topics, by different trends. And then from there, I could create even more and probably better visualizations inside Gemini. All right, let's go to our time-saving task number 3. Well, running sentiment analysis. This is huge. And this is actually a 2-pronged thing because I'm going to do this using a gem. So you can save so much time. And if you've never done sentiment analysis before, it's extremely helpful. This is something in one of my old businesses that I owned. We used to do this a lot for clients, and we charged a lot of money because it took a lot of time and expensive software, and clients obviously found a ton of value for it. So now you can literally just do it inside Google Sheets, and it takes no time at all. So let's do an example. So now I'm going to go back into my reviews data. Okay. So I'm going to click the Ask Gemini in the upper right-hand corner. I'm actually going to click Clear History. All right. So we can get a clean start here. And now you can see there's always some suggestions. There's a summary of content in the sidebar. I didn't really go over that. But one thing I want to call out is gems. Okay. So I have all my gems. Gems are essentially like if you've used ChatGPT, these are like GPTs. These are custom versions of Google Gemini that mainly you would think, oh, I'm just going to use them in Gemini, but you can actually use them inside Google Sheets. That's huge. So this is actually like a number 3 here is 2-pronged. So it's using gems, but in this case, I'm using a gem to run its sentiment analysis because there is a pre-built Google gem for a sentiment analyzer. And all I have to do is click this, and I can just click any of these, or I can, I'm actually for this one, I'm going to do the new AI function. All right. So same thing. I could go in and use a gem. I actually, because the gems are pre-built, I want a little bit more fine-tuned control over exactly what we're extracting. And again, think of how long it would take me to pull certain sentiment, not just like positive, negative, things like that, but to actually pull useful and helpful sentiment from 600 reviews, right? And some of these reviews are, you know, 10, 15 sentences long. They're longer reviews, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the new AI function. So I'm going to click the kind of just the next cell over. So I'm typing this into an empty cell. So I just pasted it in, but the new function is equals AI bracket. Okay. We'll put it in our newsletter. If you're, on the podcast and you're like, what the heck? What does that look like? Don't worry. We'll put it in there. It's all over the internet. But essentially you just type in an empty cell equals AI bracket. And then in parentheses, you just type a natural language prompt. So I'm saying categorize the customer feedback into the biggest value they received. And then I put a cell to start with. So in this case, it's cell E2. And that's all I do. I'm going to click enter. All right. I'm not going to apply it to everything because it's going to take a long time. So just like that, in 3 seconds, this person, Carlos, thank you for the review, Carlos. So what Carlos got the most out of it was practical knowledge and enjoyable delivery. Okay. So now I can drag this cell, and I'm just going to go ahead and do, we'll just do like 5 more. So I didn't want to do this through the whole sheet. It was going to take forever. I didn't know if the first one would generate or if it would take that long, but all right, it's done. All right. So now I know Michael, what he got most out of everyday AI was staying up to date with AI changes. Tyler was career, acceleration, and impact. Andrew was actionable insights, and Ratesh was staying up to date on AI. This is so helpful for me, right? I obviously read all these reviews when they come in, but some are from years ago, right? And maybe I'm seeing, maybe 2 years ago, people were saying that, they were getting much more practical value, and maybe now it's helping them think about work better, right? So even reading these testimonials, I would not be able to pull the same kind of insights that now I can get in literally seconds with Gemini in Sheets. All right, let's go to our time-saving task number 4, and that is creating content at scale. Yeah, this is a content machine. The other thing, I'm not even demoing this because Paige actually did a great job of this on our episode that we did last week. So go listen to episode 619 if you wanted to do that. But anything that you would normally like Google, you can also pull that in, right? So the example I think she did was pulling in like addresses for soccer stadiums in an instant, right? So versus having to Google them all and then copy and paste and format the addresses correctly, anything that you would normally query on Google, you can pull that in instantly, right? One other thing to keep in mind, and maybe I'll demo this first. Here, this is just a bonus one, I guess. Wait, let's do the right thing here. So when you do go into Google Sheets now, there is a new thing that just says, help me create a table. So I can just click that, and then I can just talk in natural language. So it says, create a table that, and I'm going to say, shows me the 10 most popular Chicago restaurants. I can't type live. So fun. By, I don't know, popularity. All right. So then I can just click enter. And I'm guessing it's going to put the restaurant. Oh, it's done. Yeah, these are good. These are all pretty popular restaurants. So what it did is it pulled information. So let's see if any of these are some of my favorites. Okay. I like Piccolo Sonio, right? So it not only pulled in these restaurants, but it pulled in the category. So that's Italian. And then it had the average rating, which was a 4.4. And then the number of reviews, 19,000, popularity ranked, must try dish, right? So it created a really good looking spreadsheet just like that. So I should have put that on my list, but yeah, you don't even have to start with a spreadsheet. So if you're doing competitive analysis, market research, anything like that, it can be very niche. And Gemini does a great job at pulling in up-to-date and relevant information. So really, really good. So that was just, I guess, a little bonus there for you. But let's get back to creating content at scale, right? So that was another way I wanted to demonstrate that you don't even have to start with content, that you can just create content from scratch. But in this case, I'm going to go back to my stats in my downloads. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a AI function. So I'm just going over to an empty cell, and I'm putting in equals AI bracket, and then in parentheses, generate an email subject line based on the episode title in cell A2. All right, so pretty simple there. I'm going to hit enter. And what it's doing is it's reading the title of the podcast, and then it's thinking, well, maybe I should rearrange this a little for an email headline. All right, did a really good job. Again, same thing. I can, go apply this to the next, 5 or 6 different episodes there. And then I could keep going, right? And then I could play off of what I just created. And maybe I wanted to write an intro, right? I didn't plan for this one. So let's see how this goes. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to change this to I2. Let's see if this works. And I'm going to say generate an intro subject line for an email based on the email subject line in I. So let's see if that works. Bam. Okay, perfect. Yep, did a pretty good job there. Yeah. Okay, sorry. I'm rearranging my sheets here. Yeah, so not the best, but I probably could have given it a little bit more direction. So, you have to think, you can keep building, right? So let's say, I don't know, you have a spreadsheet with products and you don't have descriptions. Yeah, you can use Google Gemini to create descriptions, but then from that description, you could, create in quick email or a bullet point of, why someone might want to buy that thing based on the AI description. So, you can keep building off of what you use Gemini AI to build. All right, let's go to our last use case, which is to spot non-obvious trends. This one might take a little while, so let's just get straight into it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this column. I'm back into my stats, and this one might take a while. So I'm going to pull out. I'm going to clear my history here, and I'm pulling out the sidebar in Google Gemini. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, find me 10 non-obvious trends that have the biggest impact on episode downloads. All right. Okay. So what's interesting is I did run this earlier, and I got a much better result. So I'm not sure why. So I'm going to try it again. I'm going to say, find me 10 non-obvious trends that had the biggest impact on episode downloads. I'm going to say, don't state low-hanging fruit. Instead, think carefully, spotting and unearthing trends that even a seasoned data analyst might miss. That would be immensely helpful. All right. So yeah, just typed out a little bit more of a prompt there. There we go. I wanted to take a little bit more time to go through and really think a little bit. So unfortunately, you don't have like a model selector like you would in Gemini, right? Oh, I can't say, use Gemini 2.5 Pro, or like an AI studio where I can set a thinking budget. But here we go. Now it's taking a good 30 plus seconds here to go through. I'm looking at it, think about my data, which is good. So now what I would do is I would go back and I would read this summarized chain of thought and, see how it kind of came to its conclusions. Sometimes you will get more out of seeing how a model like this thinks through your spreadsheet than maybe the 10 trends or 10 pieces of advice or 10 KPIs that are maybe off target. Sometimes you're going to get more by seeing how it came to those conclusions versus just how it came, or versus just the answer, right? So I'll read a couple of these. I'm not going to read all 10. So it said number one, it said hyper niche, timely deep dives outperform general news aggregations. Two, the early bird advantage for weekday releases. So it looks like the earlier I publish the podcast, the better it does. Let's see. Google and Gemini are stronger download drivers than Microsoft or ChatGPT in titles. Ooh, interesting. All right. It also says that the longer, more descriptive title sweet spots for niche topics. So it's actually drawing multiple conclusions. So it's looking at the number. It looks like it was categorizing, niche versus broad topics, and then also coupling that with the length of an episode. So it found out that, well, if I'm doing something niche, it's better to have a longer, more descriptive title versus if I'm doing something niche, having a short episode title. So some pretty good stuff in here, but I highly, especially if you are someone that spends, whether it's an hour a week or an hour a day in spreadsheets, you can't afford to not use this, right? If you checked out our episode yesterday, I did go over Microsoft's new agent mode. So I did go over a couple of things you can do similarly in Excel, and I think that's really powerful. It's much more agentic, but it's a little slower, right? So one thing that I like about using Gemini in Sheets is it is fast. It is fast. It is powerful. It is robust. And hopefully you saw, I'm using it almost like a brainstorming partner in spreadsheets, right? I'm okay at spreadsheets, writing formulas, doing filters, things like that. But it's really looking beyond and beneath kind of the actual stats in your spreadsheet. All right. I hope this one was helpful, y'all. Putting AI to work, and we all work in spreadsheets. Do you like this? Should we do more of these, spreadsheet, PowerPoint, right? Sometimes you look at it and you're like, this is a little boring, but I don't know, is saving time boring? Maybe. But I hope it's useful. And I think this is going to be practical for a lot of people out there. So thank you for listening. And I did say at the beginning, hey, we have this Sora, some Sora codes. So ChatGPT did release Sora 2, extremely powerful. It's mind-bogglingly crazy good. If you didn't see it, we shared about it in our newsletter yesterday. We're probably going to share about it again today, but we do have some invite codes. So even if you're on the $200 paid plan, you can't just get in. You got to have an invite code. So go repost this show on LinkedIn, and I'm going to randomly choose one person, put it in a little, random name generator of all the people that reposted the show. Okay. So if you're listening here live, it's for LinkedIn only. Just go find this post and then click repost. Also, if you're listening on the podcast, I always put the link to the LinkedIn post in the show notes. So you don't got to go looking. You just got to click it, click the repost. It takes 5 seconds. So if you do want access to Sora 2, I got a code with, maybe your name on it. So I'm not going to let this one last for long. I'll announce it in Thursday's newsletter. So you also got to be signed up for the newsletter. All right. And you can do that at youreverydayai.com. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope to see you back tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.